David Heredia will now be joining us remotely and will be given an opportunity to make an announcement at this time.
Hi, everybody. I will be joining remotely due to a family concern under AB 2449, and no one else is present. Currently don't have the option for video, though, just audio as far as my end goes.
All right, Chair Heredia, at this point, you would take over chairing of the meeting.
Okay, I could definitely get started with that. Okay, since this meeting is called to order, we're going to go ahead and start with roll call. Madam Secretary, can you please call roll?
Yes, Chairperson David Heredia,
Yes.
Commissioner Hugo Alvarado,
Present.
Commissioner Edgar Lopez,
Present.
Commissioner Gustavo Mendez, Commissioner Samuel Perez.
Here. Sounds like your audio's off, Chairperson.
Okay, that should clear it up. Mr. Iniguez, can you please lead us in the invocation?
Yes, Mr. Chair, please bow your heads in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we are thankful for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We are grateful for the citizens who are interested in our city and who bring matters concerning traffic and safety to the attention of the commissioners. We ask that you be with the commissioners as they deliberate these matters and make their decisions. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you. And Commissioner Perez, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, and Madam Secretary, was the agenda posted according to state law?
Yes, the agenda was posted according to state law.
Thank you. Okay, and this is the time given to the public to speak on agenda and non-agenda items. And were any comments received?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there's an audience member that has comments on non-agenda item, I believe.
Okay, sounds good.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Margie Martin. I am on Crest Avenue in Bell Gardens over here. My problem is on Ramish behind me, that street is all manufacturing of some sort of another. Now, there's machine shops that have presses. And today, there was one right directly behind my neighbor next door that was running a press, and it was vibrating my house. Now, I've complained about this many, many years ago, and I was told that they were all in compliance. Not when they're shaking my house. It feels like there's many earthquakes when they're running their presses. And I know it's directly behind because my husband went out in the backyard and he stood where it was happening. We need to direct this, get it solved, do something, because it's affecting all of the properties on my side of the street. I'm not the only one. My neighbor next door says, yes, she feels it every day. So if we can resolve this issue, have it checked out, something. And that's it for that, that one. And I do have the other ones here. Do you turn them in? I appreciate it.
Thank you for that. Okay, and Mr. Iniguez, I'm not sure, or if Mr. Banash, if we have anything that we can do to kind of mitigate that or at least check in.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what I can do is relay the comments to the Director of Community Development, and this would be looked into by either the code enforcement or the business licensing division, making sure that the business that is operating at the premises stated is operating within the confines of whatever permit they have to operate within those premises. So we'll be sure to relay that information.
Okay, sounds good. And if any follow-up needs to be done from the commenter, please feel free to follow up and come to the next meeting if you'd like to. And hopefully we can get some answers for you soon as well. Okay, were there any other comments from the public? Okay, if not, then we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of minutes. And I need a motion from a commissioner to approve the minutes of the Traffic and Safety Commission meeting of November 5th, 2024.
I can motion those minutes.
Okay, I'm not sure if we have a second motion since the meeting was in November, and I'm not sure if any of the other commissioners were present to vote on that. If I can second that myself, I can second that. If we're able to take roll call and 2 votes, since the other ones are not commissioners at this moment, I'm not sure if we can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, there was just 2 commissioners. It was Chairperson David Heredia and Commissioner Hugo Alvarado.
Okay, we can go ahead and take roll call vote on that then.
Chairperson David Heredia,
Yes.
Commissioner Hugo Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Edgar Lopez,
Abstain.
Commissioner Gustavo Mendez, Commissioner Samuel Perez.
Abstain.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to the next item, which is traffic safety analysis. And Mr. Iniguez, can you please give the report?
Yes, Mr. Chair, item number 7.1 is regarding a request for red curb parking restrictions fronting 7604 Garfield Avenue. It is staff's recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission approve for City Council consideration the request for the installation of 15 feet of red curb parking restrictions fronting 7604 Garfield Avenue. This is to improve sight distance conditions. So with that, I'll go ahead and have City Engineer Banash provide the report. Doug?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We got a request from one of the residents at 7604 Garfield Avenue to paint the curb red to allow better sight distances out of the property. Currently, the property has got commercial units in the front primarily auto repair facilities, and then residential units in the back. Based on a site visit and fuel conditions, it's our recommendation that we have install 1 or 15-foot length of red curb from the southerly end of the driveway going south to allow, thus by eliminating one compact parking space, but allow greater sight distances for people exiting the property. And I'll entertain any questions.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Okay, if not, I need a motion from a commissioner to go ahead and approve staff's recommendation of painting the 15 feet of red curb.
I'll first that motion.
Okay, and I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. And Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Hugo Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Edgar Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gustavo Mendez, Commissioner Samuel Perez,
Yes.
Chairperson David Heredia.
Yes. Okay, and the next item on the agenda, I believe, is another traffic safety analysis. Mr. Iniguez, if you can please give the report.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 7.2 is regarding a request for the placement of temporary traffic delineators on Jaboneria Road at the Bell Gardens Elementary School student drop-off zone. It is staff's recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission approve for City Council consideration the placement of temporary traffic delineators along the center line of Jaboneria Road in front of the exit of the Bell Gardens Elementary School student drop-off zone. Doug, if you can please provide the report.
Good evening again. The Bell Gardens Elementary School has gone through probably about 3 years of improvements on site, along with developing a student drop-off zone on Habanera Road south of Quinn. As part of the original request and operations, they provided 2 right turn lanes out and 1 left turn lane out from the student drop-off zone. Our operational recommendation to them was they only have 1 right out and 1 left, no rights out, only rights out, no lefts. They also requested to install fixed delineators along the center line at this exit point to further reinforce the right turn out only of the student dropout zone. But it was our analysis and recommendation that they should be temporary because the fixed delineators would impact about 4 or 5 residential units by blocking their driveway access. And primarily where this school area traffic is an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon, and why impact our residents for the rest of the 22 hours of the rest of the day. So it's our recommendation that the school operate these delineators at their expense and at their time frames versus putting the fixed ones in. And that's our recommendation. And it runs for about 45 feet or 24 feet along the center line. And I'll entertain any questions.
Question, do any other schools also have delineators in Bell Gardens?
No. Because none of them have this kind of a drop-off zone that has been constructed. Because everything else is within the public right of way, where they drop off on the street, or they drop off in the end of a cul-de-sac, depending on what school you're at. Like the 2 SUVA schools. They're primarily front SUVA or whatnot. In high school, typically we don't do traffic mitigation measures in a high school because the students are of age. mostly the elementary and the middle schools.
I noticed from the exhibit, there's 3 lanes coming out of their drop-off zone. Was that accounted for in the study? If there may be some congestion on their end and if that,
Operationally, they gotta go right, turn out. And they'll close the gate accordingly. And I'll leave it at that.
Expand on what the city engineer mentioned. As we were working with the school and the school district, that was one of the agreements that the school staff would ensure that they wouldn't have that many lanes open at the same time. And as has been mentioned, this is something that was just built over the last year here. So it's rather new, and this request came about to further enhance the safety of the ingress, egress, the entrance and exit of the drop-off zone.
just one last question. I noticed that we agreed to kind of spray the location of each delineator. Are we on the hook for the maintenance of that, or are we planning on getting reimbursed from the school, or?
We would do that on our own expense. And just as one of the goodwill efforts between the city and the school district. As part of the solution of this problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea to go ahead and put the delineators in order to, just promote safety, which is the main goal here, for sure. And if there aren't any other questions, we can go ahead and take, not a vote, but we can get a motion from a commissioner to approve staff's recommendation of temporary delineators. I need one commissioner to start.
All first.
Okay, and I need a second.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. And Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Hugo Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Edgar Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gustavo Mendez, Commissioner Samuel Perez.
Yeah.
Chairperson David Heredia.
Yes. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is another traffic and safety analysis. If Mr. Negros, if you can please give the report.
Yes, Mr. Chair, item number 7.3 is regarding a request for speed limit signs on the north end of Garfield Avenue. It is staff's recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission receive and file the report with no further action being required at this time. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to City Engineer Doug Benash again for the report. Doug?
Good evening again. When we got the request to add additional speed limit signs on the north end of Garfield Avenue, I need to go back and sort of explain how speed limits are set statewide. They're governed by the vehicle code and the manual of uniform traffic control devices, the MUTCD, where the vehicle code allows a survey of vehicles on a section of roadway. And we post this, and per the code, we've posted the speed limit to the 85th percentile of what traffic travels. We've also included in the agenda report a copy of the last traffic and speed survey we did back in 2020. And it's due to be updated this year. So with the speed surveys and the segments identified on Garfield, we did a review of the postings of the speed limit signs, and they are in conformance with the MUTCD from that standpoint. And with that in mind, we are in compliance with that, and additional speed signs would not be recommended just because of sign pollution from that standpoint. And so based on that, we just recommend to receive and file a report. And I'll entertain any questions regarding a speeds and traffic survey.
So I noticed the request you mentioned for the north area of Garfield. Is there a specific segment? I know it's broken up into 3 in your investigation. What was the segment that was requested for?
From Florence, being the north end, it'd be from Florence Place to Gage.
Farm Place? And did they mention, or the person that requested this, did they provide a reason for it? Maybe like site issues with the signs, visibility issues? Or it's just?
It
more-
was just they request for more signs. So I went out to look at where the signs were placed and whatnot, and visibility didn't seem to be an issue.
Thank you.
I'm surprised they asked for signage at this area, especially because after Florence Place Engage, that's where our PD, that's where our city hall is. So I'm frankly surprised they asked for additional signage here.
Yeah, it's definitely good questions and comments. I need a commissioner to first to motion to go ahead and go with staff's recommendation to just kind of file away at this time.
Yes, I'll first.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Hugo Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Edgar Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gustavo Mendez, Commissioner Samuel Perez,
Yes.
Chairperson David Heredia.
Yes. I believe the next item on the agenda is another traffic safety analysis. If you can give the report, Mr. Iniguez, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 7.4 is regarding a request for a three-way stop sign at Priory Street and Geffard Avenue. It is staff's recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission receive and file the report and direct staff to continue to monitor the intersection and address future issues as needed, with no further action being required at this time. So, Doug, if you can please provide the report on this one.
Good evening. Yes, we received a request to install a three-way stop sign or an all-way stop at the intersection of Priory and Gephardt in the residential area of Bell Gardens. With all stop signs and in our practices and policies, we follow the warrants that are provide guidance in the manual uniform traffic control devices within the state of California, which provides when we follow these guidelines, it provides the city full liability coverage for any of the device that we install. Now, regarding the installation of an all-way stop at this location, the MUTCD has established 3 different warrants, most applicable for the residential street intersections, one of which must be satisfied before the stop can be installed and be classified as warranted. The warrants are as follows. We look at the collisions over the last 12-month period that are susceptible for correction by a multi-way stop, such as crashes with involved right and left turns, as well as right angle or broadsides. We did a collision analysis for this as part of the study. Volumes, vehicular traffic entering the traffic intersection from the major approaches must average at least 300 vehicles per hour for each of any 8 hours on an average day. And then we look at sight distance, where the roadway users cannot see things coming in either direction. Now, when we looked at the collision warrants, we took 3 years, from October 21 to October 2024. There were no reportable accidents that could be corrected by the installation of a stop sign. There were accidents, primarily broadsides, and it's in the data. And somebody hitting parked cars. Those are not correctable by the installation of a stop sign. The traffic volume warrants was the next one we evaluated. We need 300 vehicles per hour. This is a residential street with no cut through traffic. It's primarily all residential. It just doesn't meet the traffic threshold for that. And sight distance, the MUTC recommends a minimum 155 feet clear stopping sight distance on a 25-mile-an-hour street to help avoid collisions. And based on the existing conditions, this is typical for the city of Bell Gardens, so it's not applicable at this current time. Now, the MUTCD also has additional criteria for multi-way stop locations that are as follow. The need to control left turn conflicts, there was none present. The need to control vehicle pedestrian conflicts near the locations that generate high pedestrian volumes. There was none in that area either. Locations where the road user after stopping cannot see conflicting traffic and is not able to negotiate the intersection unless conflicting cross traffic is required to stop. This intersection is just a typical residential street with just residents moving through the intersection on a random basis. And if the intersection is of two residential neighborhood collectors or similar design operating with as a multi stop can improve the operational characteristics. We did not find any need to have we did not find any operational issues at that intersection. So based on this analysis, we recommend there's nothing to do at this time. But if future issues occur, we're more than welcome to take another look at it. And I'll entertain any questions.
Yeah, quick question. I noticed it in the background and investigation portion of this subject or this traffic safety analysis. You mentioned that we received this request from a resident. Do you know what the resident's concern was? Or can you tell us what the resident's concern was?
It was pretty generic with it, just a simple request of, we have a stop sign there. There's probably some perceived.
Because I know it's a T intersection, it's stop controlled for Geffert, and it's free for Priory. So I wonder if it's an issue with pedestrians crossing at the T, or if it's an issue of vehicles going too fast and hitting that cross gutter.
Maybe some, no, there wasn't with her just request was to have a stop sign installed.
No concerns were shared.
Didn't give us any other concerns per se.
Yeah, just from, driving through there from time to time, I noticed the cross gutters, provides like a very rapid change in level. Sometimes vehicles hit if they're going pretty fast. So I wonder if that's a concern. But if no specific concerns were raised, then I wouldn't know if you had something to propose.
No, there wasn't. And if it's a significant dip, that would act as a traffic calming device. Most people like that. I have one in my neighborhood that drives through all the time fast, and he hears air dam getting scraped all the time when he drives through it. He doesn't care. So
yeah, unfortunately, sometimes like vehicles lose control because of big dips sometimes too. So might be safety concern as well. Another question. I noticed there's an unmarked crosswalk there for crossing Geffert. There's no red curb approaching that unmarked crosswalk. From your investigation or analysis, did you see any potential sight distance issues with pedestrians or any view obstructions? And would you suggest any red curb there?
not at this time. There could be, the prudent thing would be, this is where we gotta tread lightly. There is a parking issue in town. And yes, in some cases, the intersections based on where they're at, we have installed red curb. This being in the middle of a fairly quiet residential neighborhood. And the accidents didn't really show anything of cars being hit on a regular basis or side swipes. They just somebody hit a parked car. There's not enough data to substantiate. If things change in the future, we could take another look at it, but as of right now, there's nothing there.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Definitely a lot of good points brought up. I was thinking maybe it was probably an issue just trying to turn left or right off of, I forget, Geffert, is it right there? Onto the through street. But it looks like the sight lines are okay from there as well. So other than that, I would need a motion from a commissioner to approve staff's recommendation to just go ahead and monitor for now and see if any issues are brought up in the future for this intersection.
I can motion.
Okay, and I need a second.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. And Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Hugo Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Edgar Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gustavo Mendez, Commissioner Samuel Perez,
Yes.
Chairperson David Heredia,
Yes. Okay, and the next item on the agenda, I believe is the last item, is another traffic safety analysis. If you can please give the report, Mr. Iniguez.
Yes, Mr. Chair, item number 7.5 is regarding an update and recommendations on a residential permit parking district request on Crest Avenue from Florence Avenue to Clara Street. It is staff's recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission receive and file a report and provide information to the residents on the next steps. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to City Engineer Doug Benash. Doug?
Good evening. The residents on Crest have been coming to traffic safety or city council for numerous years, trying to figure out what to do with the parking issue on their street. The city established a parking district policy to establish parking districts, to establish permanent parking on the street. And the residents of Crest who are here in the audience did provide a petition for that effect. In August of last year, we took a look at it, and following the policy, it did not qualify for establishment of a parking district. However, at that meeting, we mentioned two things: the no alternative solution, and also try to figure out what's actually happening on that street to happen. So since that meeting in August, we initiated a license plate analysis of vehicles being parked there, to see where they're coming from and how that's impacting it. And what we found was that there's a condition on the street that needs to be addressed and impacted. Now, what we saw is that the businesses on both ends have operations that impact the parking areas of the residential neighborhood by the ends, primarily not in the middle. So that's where our impacts are at. What we have figured out, and what is our recommendation, is that we can establish a permanent parking district for daytime, time-based parking restrictions, basically can be utilized. As an example, a 4-hour parking restriction between the hours of 6 and 6, at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. And the 4-hour restriction will be Monday through Friday, excluding holidays. This will be similar to the street sweeping parking restrictions. This will allow overnight parking, but does not impact the residents and would not be the preferred solution. Now, when we review the policy, it does not meet the policy. However, because the block is a mix of single-family residential and multifamily properties, but based on the no alternative solution, a potential parking permit district could begin and end with the residential properties on Crest, excluding the commercials on both ends, the one at Clara and the one at Florence. If the residents submit a new petition with the recommended parking district limits and obtain a necessary signatures of 75% of the residents and tenants of each unit of the multifamily properties, then staff would support the establishment of a parking district. So you can read the report. It's abbreviated, but it's basically given the option for the residents to go around the neighborhood again to see if they want to have a parking district established from, and we can get you the limits of it, from the very last residential north of Clara to the last residential unit south of Florence. That'll be the limits of the district, where the commercial districts will be bound to park in their areas or elsewhere on Clara or elsewhere on Florence. But the residents would have a parking district for the residential people there. And our recommendation is to come back to you as the concerned residents to get another petition signed and include all the multifamilies also. Yes, keep going. So please get your question on the record.
The permit, would they be issued one permit per household, or how, if you have a multi-families on the properties, how would that work?
That is a very, it's probably going to be for the multifamilies, well, they might get one or two. But if it's a single family home, they get for sure one. We just got to count spaces and see what we can do. Just because it's a mixed block. I don't have a specific answer, but we can get you that answer as part of the petition form.
Okay, okay, regarding that's done. My other issue is on our street where I am actually located is when you're coming from Clara onto my street, it kind of curves.
Mhm.
I'm right in the middle, and when I'm exiting my driveway, visibility is very hard to see, and cars speed up and down our street. There's certain times of the day that they speed because they're taking the shortcut. They don't want to wait on Florence to make a left on Garfield. So they speed down our street to get a shortcut, get on Clara, and then go to Garfield. Now, it's dangerous and a safety hazard for me and the people on my side because we don't see it when the cars are coming. And if we back out, we're going to get hit. Could it be possible to paint the curb red on the left side of my property so that nobody can park there and we can see visibility coming from Clara?
That could be considered. We'll do a formal report. We'll take this as a formal request for a consideration of a red curb at your address.
Okay,
Let me get your address again.
7554 Crest,
I apologize. Your name again?
Margie
I'm sorry.
Martin, Martin,
Is that with a G or a J?
GIE.
Okay.
And then again, addressing the speeding. I mean, I know you guys brought those machines last year and you monitored the speeding on our street. Again, like I told the officer that was picking up the machine, when the machines are on the street, the people are not going to speed because they're going to be cautious of, okay, they think they're going to get a ticket or there's a camera on the machine, so they're going to slow down. But when they're not there, they speed.
Well, there's another avenue you can take as you go, if knowing that we're recommending if you want to establish a parking district, you can ask the same question, do you want speed humps?
We did, but
They said no.
I guess our street is not long enough. It has to be over so many feet.
We'll check that.
And then there was also a thing that was kind of scared some of the residents that it was going to cost us
No.
to repair the speed bumps. No cost at all to us.
If there's a cost to you, if the neighborhood determines to take the speed humps out,
Only then.
only then. If I remember, I think that's the policy,
Okay,
but no, not to install.
okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hopefully this gives you some direction. Hopefully this gives you some direction. Pressing something.
Mr. Chair, there was a question regarding permits issued. So the way the policy reads is it would be one permit per single family dwelling and then also one permit for each respective multifamily dwelling. So in other words, if there are 4 dwelling units within the multifamily, then they will be issued 4 permits,
Okay.
1 per.
Okay, sounds good. As far as parking permits, I think since we haven't really implemented that, as long as anyone who does get a parking permit knows, I think it'd be good for them to be aware that even on a busy street where there's not a lot of, not busy like traffic wise, but parking wise, would it be possible, like even if they have a parking permit, they just might not find parking on their small block due to just the multifamily permits being issued and maybe like 20 cars take up all the spots, but there's like 24 permits issued? Or is there a certain cap at permits?
If I understood the policy with one permit per property and one permit per multifamily tenant dwelling, it's but basically it's one per property or one per unit. And how then it's first come, first served on the street will be how it operates. It doesn't give you the right to have a park in front of your street or in front of your property. It gives you the right to park on the street if parking is available.
That is correct. It would be the same as a disabled blue curb. It's first come, first serve, and it is not proprietary or exclusive to the individual property fronting the location or the premises.
I think another resident has another comment, another concern.
7565 Crest. I just have a brief question. With all the problems that the city is having with traffic, with parking, I'm just wondering if the city has any plans to construct either a parking structure or a lot somewhere where the parking issues are more severe. And I'll sit and listen.
Mr. Chair, to answer that question, at this point, there are no plans in the capital improvement program budget for any parking structures or acquisition of additional property for public parking. The public parking that's available, that's all that the city has at the moment.
Okay, thank you for the comment and response. Okay,
There's one more speaker, Mrs. Chair, that wants to
sounds
Hi. So there's businesses all along Clara and they don't allow, or they don't provide enough parking for their employees. And there's also and so those people come and they park on our street all day long and then they walk up to their business. And I thought that the businesses had to supply adequate parking for their employees, but they're not. So I was just curious about that. And also on trash day, we put our trash cans out and those people who are parking on our street because they have to go to work on Clara, also move our trash cans so that they can park. So I don't know what's up with that. And I almost got killed the other day by a car because I was walking my dog and we were crossing the street. I usually carry him in my arms and someone turned off of Florence. I was on the Florence side and they came speeding up to me and I was like, oh my God, I thought I was going to get hit. And all I could do was freeze. And they stopped and then they went around me and they continued to speed down the street. It was just like, I don't know, it was really weird. And I was scared. I'm very scared. And you think that, people would be a little more kind, but they don't care. They don't care. And it's been really, really bad. So that's, I think, 3 things. I'm not sure.
Well, speeding we can address with if the neighborhood will lock speed humps. I'll check as we get back, as we put together the exhibit for the petitions for the parking permit district. We'll also include the speed hump surveys and we'll verify that. If you'll get it, it's verified that you're gonna apply for it. From that standpoint, so that take care of the speeding. The parking district would also mitigate the employees of the businesses on Clara for not being allowed to park within the residential area of that and force them to go someplace else. So those two work hand in hand with that. And if the employees who work on Clara are moving to trash cans, if we get them off of Crest by the parking district, that should solve that problem then.
And they're from Clara and they're moving our trash cans and
We have to go out there and tell them, do not move our trash cans because the trash man does not get out of the vehicle. He has the arm to pick up the trash can. And if they are on the grass in front, by the street, they will not pick up.
Yep.
And so it's an altercation going back and forth with these people. Not good, it's not a good thing for our neighborhood.
So we'll take a look at those two items.
So, Mr. Benash, I have a quick question. I noticed back in August here in the report, you recommended the completion of a traffic volume and speed data analysis. Was that conducted, and I'm not sure if I recall what you guys found in that study.
There was the random number of vehicles that would speed. And what we have found, which goes back to how we set the speed limits for the California Vehicle Code. No matter what we do, there will be a certain percentage of the population that will not do what they're asked to do. They just don't. And they won't. That's why when we do the speed surveys, we set it to the 85th percentile. And we don't. And if we did set it to the 85th percentile, some of the streets that are at 30 or 35 could wind up being at 45, because you'd have to hit that's a hard number. So you have to be very selective on what streets you do a speed survey on and whatnot, because it could alter the what is now 25 miles an hour on Crest as a prima facie speed limit. It could alter that. And that's what we try to avoid as much as possible, especially for the residential areas. So yes, there are the oddballs that do things that they shouldn't. We cannot, that's human nature. There's not an engineering or enforcement capabilities that will do that unless enforcement catches them in the act at the time that's happening. And I did this at another traffic community meeting, which I mentioned to the residents at that point. You have to think of it this way. It's kind of like if a certain percentage of the population thinks Elvis is still alive, there's nothing we can do about that. And it's kind of the 15% that violate all the speed laws. It's that same mentality that no matter what we try, we can't, we can mitigate it. Speed humps will do it, but then sometimes they speed between the speed bumps. And you get the roar of the engine that way. So everything, it's a compromise, whatever we try to do.
So I think to be more specific on my question, from that speed data survey, was that evaluated to see if maybe it met any of the warrants for speeding mitigation equipment, like traffic or like bumps, like speed bumps or speed feedback signs, or was there any noticeable speeding from that survey, or
Just one or two oddballs from that standpoint. And since I didn't have a speed hump survey request, I didn't look at any further from that standpoint. And based on what today's request is, if we do get a petition for speed humps, I would do a fresh report just to make it fresh.
and at that point, we wouldn't need to do a speed data analysis anymore. We have the data.
We would have the data for the speed humps.
Just another question. I know you guys evaluated the no alternative solution, and you guys did determine that a lot of vehicles that are parking there are from nearby businesses. Is there any other alternative to meeting that parking district requirement? Is there ways around it, or is the options that you proposed the only option?
I think the way the policy is written is per a block. And I'm based on the conditions, I've shortened to where this district would be just in front of the residential districts, just in front of the residential properties. That was kind of the alternative to try to satisfy the intent of the parking district versus, as I mentioned, it doesn't, if you take the whole block, it doesn't comply. But we've seen Marjorie and I apologize for the last couple of years about this issue, and something I needed to offer something to them that is reasonable, that follows the intent of the policy, but is tailored to that specific conditions. And that's basically what it boiled down to.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, if we have done this license plate survey and we find the data saying that a lot of vehicles there are due to business operations, we need to find some way to help the residents out and I don't know what are we going to try to proceed with, but I think if this is something that, you know, like the parking district requirements, we can modify, maybe bring it up to city council that way and see if that maybe they can modify the requirements, or if there could be a special exemption regarding the data that we do have.
Do parking districts go to council?
I believe so.
Okay. So where we stand today is, based on this recommendation, is it's receive and file with a request to the residents to go back out and canvass the neighborhood. They come back with 75% of all dwelling units agreeing to a parking district to be established between the residential areas. Then we'll bring it back to traffic safety. And then based on your decision, forward it to council. That would be the process.
To expand on that, the reason it does have to go to council, this would modify the city's resolution that sets parking restrictions citywide, and it would make it enforceable. Otherwise, we would not be able to enforce the parking rule on the district itself.
Okay, I just want to thank everybody again for all the questions and comments. Thank you, Commissioner Lopez and the public. If we go ahead and go with Mr. Banash's recommendation as far as going ahead and doing the filing and taking into consideration everything said and doing another vote to see if maybe there's something that could be done about speed humps. On the whole Crest and Clara situation, we would need a motion from a commissioner.
All first.
Okay, and I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. And Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Hugo Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Edgar Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gustavo Mendez, Commissioner Samuel Perez,
Yes.
Chairperson David Heredia.
Yes. Okay, I believe that was the last item on the agenda. And do we have any comments from staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair. First, I want to formally welcome Commissioner Samuel Perez, Gustavo Mendez, and Edgar Lopez to the Traffic and Safety Commission. So welcome aboard. Second, I want to report that the Eastern Avenue improvements are now completed. And that means we have a freshly new road from the southern city limits all the way up to Florence on the eastern. So that's a pretty good smooth drive. And lastly, I want to report that the Safer Streets for All process is well underway with KOA. This is a firm that the city retained and brought on to update the city's complete streets plan. So the idea there, updating that plan, will not only lead to safer streets and roads, but also make the city eligible to go after federal funding, because our plan would now be in conformance with federal requirements. So those are staff comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And do we have any comments from commissioners? Okay, just like Mr. Niguez said, I just wanted to welcome the new commissioners we had here present today, Commissioner Perez and Commissioner Lopez. I'm glad you're able to join. I'm sorry I was not able to join. I appreciate everybody's time and patience to try to get this figured out for me to be able to participate today. If there are no other comments or questions from commissioners, then we can go ahead and adjourn this meeting to the next scheduled meeting, I believe June 3rd, the next Tuesday or the first Tuesday of the next month. And we can go ahead and close this meeting. And I believe the time is 6:46.